Welcome, everybody. It is Monday evening, June 14th. It is our first meeting of June.
Recording in progress.
Welcome. And we're so glad that you're joining us tonight in our public meeting. To start us off, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Next up is our roll call. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember James.
Present in Ferndale, Michigan.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May.
Present in Ferndale, Michigan.
Councilmember Mikulski.
Present in Ferndale, Michigan.
Councilmember Polika.
Present in Ferndale, Michigan.
And Mayor Piana.
Present in Ferndale, Michigan. And next we need the approval of the agenda. And if those council members didn't see that 5A presentation will not be attending tonight.
Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as published with the exception of striking 5A because Commissioner Favell cannot join us.
Support.
Moved by James, supported by Polika. Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May.
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski.
Yes.
Councilmember Polika.
Yes.
Councilmember James.
Yes.
And Mayor Piana.
Yes. Next is the item of electronic meeting procedures. We are moving away from electronic meetings starting the first meeting in July, but our June meeting tonight and the one on the 24th will be on electronic, and we will see you back in the chambers. All right, moving on to presentations, which is now the new 5A is residential parking program presentation provided by Republic Parking.
Mayor, I'm giving our parking general manager, Bruce Campbell, 1 second to join. I do have his presentation. I will see if he's having issues getting on. Otherwise, I can do it on his behalf. Kyle, is Bruce available yet, or do you not see him?
I have not seen him join yet.
Okay. Well, in the interest of council and the public's time, I have his presentation, so I'm familiar enough with the topic. He is having problems logging in. And I can get him queued up, and when he's available, Kyle, I guess let us know, and I can have him step in.
Will do.
Thank you. Give me 1 moment, and I will share my screen. Okay, is everybody able to see Bruce's PowerPoint?
It is,
You.
Yeah?
yes, we got full
Thank-
unit.
Okay, so I can help introduce this. During the budget process in April, City Council had commented a desire for an update on residential parking program. Completely coincidentally, but timely, we had since then a petition process to upgrade a local residential parking zone street to resident permit only parking, led by a petition initiative that will be discussed tonight at public hearing. So it seems timely that we present a general update on this. The background: in 2015, the city manager's office surveyed residents regarding parking concerns and assembled a resident focus group that helped establish the actual policy in place today to govern residential parking. They established 2 different types of residential parking: permit only parking for residents that have their own test, and also resident parking zones, which are a bit more generic and have 2-hour time restrictions. The goals at that point were to prioritize on-street parking for residents of a designated block. In most of these streets that were designated are located adjacent to the downtown, and at the time we're experiencing overflow traffic from commercial activity that was preventing access for consistent access for residents on those streets. The two types, they do have specific rules that govern their enforcement through the ordinance language itself. So the ordinance language for an RPC district limits all streets within the zone for 11 a.m. to midnight. So that's the enforcement period for an RPZ street itself, Monday through Saturday. And residents are able to obtain two resident permits per pass, or per household, pardon me, and 2 guest permits per household on an annual basis. These permits come at no cost to the residents who participate in the zone. RPOP and RPOP 2 are really the same concept. RPOP 2 is just the second permit-only parking street that was approved prior to the dock construction project. So the current resident permit-only parking programs are located on Vester and West Saratoga, sorry. And tonight, council will consider at the public hearing a petition to convert West Troy to permit-only parking by residents. There's a distinction there on the enforcement time. The enforceability of permit-only parking begins at 4 p.m. The ordinance language does provide strict guidance of who can and who cannot park there by allowing it to start at 4 p.m. At the time, the group agreed that would allow daytime guests, parents, grandparents to come visit children, or service contractors to come and park on the street. So they would be allowed to do that, and it simplified the operations. And ultimately, the problem was defined as being an evening problem caused by nighttime commercial traffic. Here's a summary of the current RPZ districts that public parking does enforce. On West Troy, Livernois to Allen, West Saratoga, East Troy and East Breckenridge, Bermuda, Woodward to Bermuda. Permit-only parking, as we discussed, is Vester Street, East Breckenridge, and West Saratoga.
Joe, it looks like we might have Bruce.
Oh, well, I'll give Bruce an opportunity to say hello, and then we'll start with the next slide. Bruce, can you confirm you're on?
Yes, I'm on. Thank you, Joe.
Why don't we, it's like you're pinch hitting in the middle of an at-bat. Why don't we start fresh on the next slide? And why don't you talk a little bit about the residential parking petition process, and then you can go into how the system is actually enforced.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize for arriving late due to technical difficulties. But yeah, I'll just go into the residential parking petition program. I think, and Joe probably mentioned this earlier, most of this, most of us on the call may or may not be familiar with. The petition program requires approximately most of the majority of households on the street must sign up. During that sign-up process, there must be a description of the parking concerns that the citizens or residents want to be addressed. And I think in the current petition that's on the agenda right now, it's in your council packet. You can see a lot of those, the types of concerns that residents have to bring this type of petition forward. Next slide. Currently, we have 7 different zones that we are currently enforcing. There are 157 residential passes or residential permits currently enrolled. So the permit process itself is a process whereby either we here in the parking office or staff in City Hall, or the residents themselves go into the permit platform and apply for their residential permits on an annual basis. So that's what that 157 resident passes is for, and then the 300 guest passes, residents can apply for or ask for up to 2 additional passes that are actually physical hard copy hang tags that they give to guests to park on the street and not receive a parking citation. And the way that we currently enforce parking is when we do it correctly, we do it with a 2-man team where one person drives and the other one chalks tires electronically, which consists of punching into our handhelds the information for where the license plates that are on the vehicle and the location of the vehicle. And then when we're really busy during the summer months, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I should say, the officers will two people will park and walk up and down the street. Next slide, please. So the reason that we wanted to recap the residential parking program in this manner is at the same time we wanted to introduce the technology that we're seeking for mobile license plate recognition. And mobile license plate recognition is simply a process that is more efficient than how we're currently enforcing parking. It's done with cameras mounted either on top of the vehicle or in the bumper area that captures the license plate information that we currently capture manually, captures it in an automated fashion, and processes the information more quickly than we currently do now. Next slide, please. So the efficiencies I just mentioned, from a staffing standpoint, we use less staff. It's just, it's one person can manage this as opposed to 2 people. We can cover more area in less time than we currently do. There's obviously there'd have to be, and there is an integration with our current enforcement tools, the ones that we use right now to enforce parking from our service provider. There'd be an integration with this license plate recognition system and the handheld ticketing system that we use now. And there's, in addition to the capturing of the information, obviously, if we're using this system, we would encounter a lot less mistakes. We encounter significantly less mistakes. And those are just human error mistakes. It's understandable. We try to minimize human error as much as we can. We tell our officers to take their time punching in license plates, but inevitably mistakes are going to happen, and this reduces the amount of mistakes significantly. Next slide, please. So I went into how it works a little bit. The cameras on the license plates, the camera scans the license plates for to check for permit status. Going back to what was mentioned earlier, residents already have their license plate information in the system. So as our staff would scan tags going up and down the street, the residents tags come up as don't ticket, and the individuals who are parking on the street who should not be parking there automatically come up that they don't have a permit, and therefore we would then write the citation, or the system generates the citation, and the officer would apply the citation to the vehicle. Next slide. So we calculated the current cost, and this is just labor costs of us for what we do right now with regard to residential parking enforcement. Currently we estimate the annual labor costs at about $45,000, and we've estimated that the annual cost for the one person to come in at around the efficiencies created coming in at around $11,000 or $12,000. That is enforcing the current zones that we have now. That doesn't include the zones that the residential parking application that's on the docket today. However, one of the benefits of this is we can absorb more of these zones at reduced costs if we need to. And one thing I would mention about that projected annual labor costs for the LPR enforcement, it does not include the annual hosted solution fees that go along with this type of solution. We have an RFP on this out right now, and in the RFP, we expect to get a range back, an additional hosted solution fee, a range for anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000, just depending on the vendor. But that's what we expect that additional cost to be. We don't have it yet, but we should be wrapping up the solicitation for this system sometime in July. Next slide, please. So the LPR costs, we anticipate the units to come somewhere around $47,000. And that's what we budgeted for this application. So that includes the shipping, hardware, everything associated with implementing this solution. And in addition, in the RFP, we have said to vendors, before you are selected, you're going to have to demonstrate your solution here in the city of Ferndale. So that way we make sure that everything that we're asking for, we'll get it before we commit to this solution. And then you may note on the, we do plan to, or our intent is to use an all-electric vehicle for this residential parking enforcement solution. And if it's either, we either plan to use an all-electric vehicle or a hybrid, and that's consistent with the city's some account. I think we want to be consistent with council goals to introduce alternative uses or alternative fuels wherever we can. Next slide. And this is just a picture of what one of the units looks like in a vehicle outfitted for enforcement. Similar, most of us have seen either by picture or either firsthand. Some police departments use these systems in different applications, different places. I don't think we have it here, but that's what this is. When you see when you see cameras outfitted on a vehicle, this is what the insides look like. And this This particular picture is probably a couple of years old, so it may change some, but this is basically how that's going to function and look. Next slide. Thank you, and I can answer any questions. And again, before I do, I want to apologize for my technical difficulties, but hopefully I know Joe took care of that for me.
Thank you, Bruce. I would just add the one comment. City Council did adopt a public surveillance ordinance. This is completely compliant with everything within that ordinance. And with that,
Thank you.
back to the council.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there questions from council at this time? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the next presentation of 5C, the DOT Experience High Priority Art and Wayfinding Projects. Thank you, Bruce and Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
The DDA director will introduce this. Kyle, is Lena available?
Yes, here I was being promoted. So I will be excited to not use that terminology anymore. So good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm thrilled to be with you tonight and talk about tackling some high priority, high visibility art and wayfinding elements at the DOT parking development. I have John Moses with me. He's from Ideation Orange, and I'll be introducing him here in just a couple minutes, but I wanted to kind of kick off what we're here to talk about. So this all started when a very green DDA director was invited to a meeting in a cold construction trailer on West Troy Street, and the city manager was brainstorming about how we could add art to the DOT structure to make it unique and help folks remember where they parked. So it started in a pretty, simple, understandable place, and it kind of led to the creation of the DOT Experience Plan, which we did with Ideation Orange and input from the DDA and also from the Ferndale Arts and Culture Commission. We had a little group that kind of worked on it. It was great. It was one of the things we did sort of early pandemic. So as the DDA Board of Directors approved the plan a couple months back, they really pushed me to find some ways that we could get some early wins. They really wanted to see us demonstrating some of the things that they liked so much from the plan. So working with Jordan Twardy, we collaborated and identified some items that we felt would really pop, and ultimately with the goal of driving usage of the deck so that people see it, they recognize it, and they remember to go park there. As we hopefully enter the economic recovery phase of the pandemic, the DDA's mission is to prioritize outdoor activation and public art. We talked about that a lot in our budgeting process this year. That means you're going to see street furniture, murals, continued support of the patio zones, and things like that. I think it's an important thing to remember is that the DDA exists solely to improve and promote the downtown, and we are obligated to spend our funds within that TIF district, and we are obligated to spend them 100% unless we have a very specific plan about why we're saving. So there's definitely worse jobs in the world than being responsible for spending money and improving people's downtown experience. So I've been very excited to tackle this. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to John to kind of talk about the specific elements that the DDA approved. And I do want to be clear that this is not a funding request to council. This is being funded by the DDA from our budget, but we wanted to show you as it's not actually the DDA's deck. So we're going to be painting on your deck. So we wanted to show it to you. So with that, John, are you ready to share a presentation?
Yep, I'm good to go.
Okay, and then Kyle, does he have the ability to share? He should. You should have it, John.
I should.
Sounds good. I'll start right now.
Okay.
All right, can everybody see that? I'm assuming yes. All right, I'll jump right in.
It didn't go into full screen mode, but I think that's okay.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll minimize this. All right, so this is it's kind of a slimmed down presentation from all of the different things that we've proposed doing in the DOT, just to try to keep it quick and show you what we're focused on, like Lena said. This is just the initial page, which was our design statement. And if you see some of these faded back words in the background, these are just things that from doing some of the research and the interviews with the Arts Commission and the DDA, words that came out a lot in discussion about how they wanted the DOT to feel. So you'll see words like energetic, sustainable, tight-knit, open-minded. These were all things that really guided the concept that we put together. And I'll just jump to this next page here. This just shows a quick view of the exterior, and I'll get into more of the theme and how that all played out, but I wanted to bring this page up because this item right here is one that the DDA really felt like would be a high priority item and really increase some of the artistic visibility from the street. So this is when cars are pulling into the lot, you would get a glimpse of this mural here, as well as people that were walking down the sidewalk could also see this. So this mural is part of the initial scope.
You know, John, I don't think it's advancing. I think you might have to manually advance it.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. I wonder if I exit. Screen share. What about now? Are you guys seeing it change at all?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe it's full screen mode. So this is the view I was talking about. Everyone can see kind of my mouse moving around this mural right here. This is one that would get some great street visibility as well. When people are pulling into the parking structure, they'd be able to see this mural. The plan is that we would be doing murals on really every level, but to start off, this would just be one of those first items that would start to really show some emphasis and show that some artwork is being created there. And this explains just the overall theme. So we went with a theme of nature. So each level would end up having its own color designated to it. So the basement would be this light blue color. The ground level would be this dark green. And then we get into kind of this wood level, which would be this mustard. And then leaf is this kind of brighter green. And then sky is the red. And it was based about like the concept of a tree, which is connected to Ferndale. These are just inspiration pages that will really end up guiding like our creative direction with each individual muralist that's part of the project. So for the basement, this was our mood board for kind of how we wanted the basement murals to feel. And then as you go through level one, this is more based on rock, wood, leaf, and sky. And then in terms of the approach with the whole kind of integration of art, we looked at a lot of different examples of how other parking structures have really brought branding to the space. And what we decided to do was kind of pare it back. So instead of like trying to cover every single surface with paint, we were really using just portions of it to bring the color to each level, and also using the exposed concrete that's already part of the structure as a design element. And this just shows some inspiration for how that could end up looking. And then this is actual pictures of the DOT and some just renderings that we put together that would show kind of where we were headed. So this is like the basement where you have lots of different block that could be painted, but we're still using kind of the exposed concrete as a way to frame out the art. And then as you travel, you know, through the DOT, there's lots of open areas where we could paint the ceiling and do different things to really bring that color palette and the different murals to each level. And now this just gets into a page that's specifically about what we're tackling right now. So at each stairway or stairwell, there's some work that we want to do. One, to just bring the color palette to the space. So we're not painting anything throughout every level, really, except for a main column that's at the outside of each elevator bay, a portion of the ceiling that's right outside the elevators. And then we're also bringing some wayfinding to each level. So this would be like a B for the basement, but it would go, I'll show you on the next page, it kind of goes B, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each of these would be the corresponding color to that level. And then the other place where we wanted to have some fun and really get the community involved would be on the ceiling here above the elevator. There would also be an excerpt from a song lyric. And you can see just these were in our concept. Some of the ones that we chose was A Coat of Pink Cashmere on the sky level. It's Not Easy Being Green by Kermit the Frog on this level. Tangerine, She Is All They Say. And Lena's going to work with the public to really get input on those and actually choose lyrics where there'll be an opportunity for other people to get involved with the selection of those. And then this shows from the side view how those, or the side elevation here, how the levels will be identified. And this really came up from the DDA as a high priority item because no one likes to kind of be in a parking structure and not remember what level you were at. So we really want to start, get the ball rolling with identifying a color for each level and then adding some elements like this that'll just make make it more of a pleasant experience for people that are going there. And then we're also doing some sign painting on the outside. We're trying to create, there was on the wish list of the people that we were working with on the committee, they wanted to have it be like this space where you could kind of unlock different puzzles and secrets. So there's going to be, if you look down the stairwell from like the upper floor level 4, I believe, you'd be looking down and we want to spell out the words hope on one side and love on the other side. So it would just be a very unique kind of photo opportunity that you could take and spell out these 2 words. And then this is, you're seeing kind of glimpses of things that we want to do in the future. This element outside of the bike house and the sculpture are not part of the scope. And this is the actual artist that we're going to be working with to do that first mural that you would see as you pull into the structure on the ground level, Mike Ross, and he's going to be in charge of kind of creating that start to all the murals that hopefully will happen in the future. And that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, John. This is Lena. So we're here to answer any questions. I did have a request from one of the council members to talk very briefly about the DDA budget. So I'm happy to do that. I'm going to give you just a couple of highlights so you know how we pay for things. We have tax increment financing revenue along with a few other revenue sources, and our budget is usually between $550,000 and $650,000 a year. Last year was actually a little closer to $700,000. The variables really relate to interest income, state PPT loss reimbursement, contributions and sponsorships, things like that we bring in. And again, we are legally obligated to reinvest that money in our downtown. So that is something that we do. We've been able this year to bring in a lot of grants and sponsorships. I've been very happy with that. All of the cups to date for the patio zones have been sponsored, and we have another sponsor lined up right behind Jim Schaefer. So we're going to be having another announcement in July. The PPE marketplace that provided free PPE to businesses from October through May to hundreds of businesses, hundreds of times, was entirely done with money from outside our organization, Main Street Oakland County, Patronicity, and public donations. DDA has also overseen $2,000 restaurant relief grants to 24 businesses. That was in conjunction with the chamber and the city, and then helped bring another $14,000 in for Jordan's Open in Ferndale program. Some of our bigger items are downtown maintenance, staff, annual contributions to debt service at the DOT, contractual services, things like legal and social media, things like that. So really we're working, outside of those kind of core services. We don't have, we have to be really careful with what we spend, and public art and outdoor activation is something that we've really identified, especially coming out of COVID. So you see the affirmations bench, and I know that looked like it happened really fast, but it actually took a really, really long time to make that happen. So that's just a brief overview of our budget and why we would prioritize something like this. And then we would move into a phase of more fundraising to really look at doing some of the other very cool elements that are in the plan that Ideation Orange created. So with that, I will open the floor to any questions, or Joe, if you have anything that you're interested in us covering, feel free.
No, I just close by expressing my sincere appreciation for the partnership. This is a great initiative you guys did, and I appreciate your leadership on it and your board's leadership on it. And John, I appreciate your creativity. I don't have that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, other questions from council?
Through the chair.
Mhm.
Could you display the large mural at the opening again? I don't think I was able to see that. I think that was part of the early display that you had issues going from screen to screen.
Yep, I will go right back there. So it'll be right in this area. And this is still preliminary. So this was the result of our initial kind of concept design where we're going next is basically we'll be working with Mike Ross, that muralist, for him to come up with the actual mural that's going to go here. This is just an example of his work and kind of the style of work that he does, but it will be custom. What will be designed will be custom to the dot, and it'll be a unique piece. It won't be something that he's done before.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, other questions from council? All right, thanks Lena for the update, and really appreciate where this is going and where the DDA board is going with their priorities of making our downtown a more people-friendly place.
You are welcome.
Mayor, you're on mute.
Doesn't get old. We are now moving on from presentations, going to call the audience. And for call the audience, I ask that you leave your comments to 3 minutes. I'll be timing you from here at home. And we usually have we changed our rules for call the audience so that you can talk about anything on or off the agenda. But tonight we have 2 public hearings immediately after the call to audience. So if you are here to provide a comment on the West Troy residential permit only parking zone and the medical marijuana facility, there will be specific public comment periods for these agenda items. And I kindly request that if you can wait until those agenda items pop up. And in the meantime, our assistant city manager will take the hand raisers from Zoom and people calling in, and look forward to hearing what you've got to say. So thanks for being with us here tonight, and Kyle, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. So you are able to raise your hand as the mayor suggested. We have 1 call in, so we'll start with them. And this is a 248 number with the last 3 as 209. If you have any comment, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sherry, and I'm a resident of the city. And I just had a couple of questions. I don't know if the questions go strictly to Ideation Orange or to the DDA. Lena explained a little bit about the $550,000 to $650,000 budget average that's got to be reinvested in the city. So in the Ideation Orange 37 pages, I believe it is, there's other artists mentioned and examples of their work. And I'm just wondering, the $33,565 isn't going towards their work at this time. So I'm just wondering, what is the timeline for that work, those recommendations to be done? And then also, where will that money be coming from? Because it's not coming out of that $33,565 at this point. Those are kind of the questions I had. And then also, I heard mention of opportunities for future public work for artists or whatever. So I'm just wondering, will the work over time, over years, be switched out with other artists' work? Those are basically my questions for this at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry, for your comments. And I direct you to our DDA director, who can follow up with you after this meeting tomorrow.
And all right, there we go. Bernie, go ahead.
Hi, Bernie, welcome.
Sorry, I had to do the unmuting. Mayor Pien and City Council, thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I'm Bernie Frazier. I live on West Saratoga. I had one question. The first one, I guess, comes from the presentation that was given. Were any of the neighboring residents invited for their input in that cold construction trailer? Or was this solely just the DDA that was involved in this art project? And secondly, I did want to thank you for all your efforts that you're putting forth and your continued efforts to correct a lot of the issues with the DOT. I noticed that some of the shields have been put in place in the interior, and hopefully the ones on the roof will be coming soon. And I just really wanted to thank you for your efforts on that. With the opening of the businesses and the allowance for the bars to stay open to 2 a.m., there has been a very noticeable increase in noise pollution from the DOT. As you're aware, with solid surfaces, sound waves reflect off of them, and they look for a non-solid path to travel. And unfortunately, the least path of resistance for that sound from 3 of the 4 levels of the DOT is out the sides, which goes directly into our homes. At 2 a.m. when the car alarms are going off or there's yelling, or people who have been enjoying the Ferndale bars, they're not necessarily thinking about sleeping neighbors, and this noise is amplified into our homes. So I'm not sure if you've considered possible solutions for this. One of the things I was thinking about as we were talking about the art and the DOT, and I believe that they actually spent over $1 million in the construction of the DOT to, make sure the front side of the DOT looked very well. And maybe perhaps on the back side, we could maybe make like a solid canvas, a blank canvas in which a beautiful design could be painted, or a mural could be painted to blend the DOT in with the neighborhood. A friend had forwarded me a great picture of this being done in an innovative city where they had a white building that was all brick and, ugly looking. And they took that and painted this mural and made it look blended right in with the town. I sent an email of this photo to all those on the city council. I thought it was a great, innovative way in order to take care of an issue. And this would not only help with the light pollution, it would not only help with the noise pollution, but it would also eliminate from the backside of the DOT, which we have to look at each and every day, this jail-like feel on the backside. And we could have something that looked very beautiful. I think that'd be a great a way to spend money on the backside, not just thinking about the front side, which as I said, I don't know if any residents were able to give their input on this before tonight.
I'm gently interrupting to remind you your 3 minutes are up. Can you wrap up, please?
Nope, that was my last point. I was just going to say thank you for your time, and I hope you guys have a great evening.
Thank you, Bernie, for your comments.
And Mayor, we do have an announcement from Special Events Director Michael Larry.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, everybody. Hi. Just want to remind everybody that this Saturday, June 19th, we had the Juneteenth celebration, which will be held in the courtyard at the Ferndale Area District Library from 1 to 5 p.m. This event is proudly sponsored by the City of Ferndale, the Royal Oak Township, and also the Ferndale Area District Library. It's an exciting celebration of Juneteenth, a national holiday commemorating June 19th, 1865, when emancipation finally reached the last Confederate state. This will feature poetry reading, storytelling, along with performances from Motown Dream Team dancers, drummers, and also live performance by Joshua James Prince Project and Nadir. So hopefully everybody will have time to come out and enjoy the entertainment, the poetry reading, and also the storytelling. And then at the end of June, the 26th, which is a Saturday, we have the Clean the Ferndale Up. Of course, this is where we do cleanup and sprucing projects around the community. And certainly we want to encourage each and every one of you to consider being able to volunteer during that time from 9 a.m. to noon. If not, then how about make a project at your home and do some special cleanups and sprucing. And we can all do it together, not necessarily at the same time, but at your leisure in your own home, in your own lawn. And of course, for both of these, for more information, you can certainly go on the city's website and look under the events page. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
And Mayor, that is all of the raised hands at this time.
All right, folks. See no other hand raisers. I'm going to close call to audience and move on to our next agenda items, which is our public hearings. And the first public hearing is the consideration of the West Troy Street residential permit only parking zone and approve ordinance number 1259 for West Troy between Allen Street and Farmdale. So there's 4 steps to a public hearing. And the first step is going to be a staff presentation. After the staff presentation, there will be public comment, and then I open up for council questions. And then we'll move into step 4, which is motion and debate by city council members. With that, I'm going to hand it over to our city manager, Joe, to begin the staff presentation on the public hearing. And I will open up the public hearing or public comment at that time. So.
Sure, Mayor, the previous presentation really serves as staff's update on residential parking district. Tonight, though, specifically for the public hearing, we had a super majority of residents located on the block of West Troy Street between Allen and Farmdale submit petitions to evolve their current RPZ district to an RPOP district. And so what council is considering tonight is the review of those applications, which are attached in the packet. You can hear from residents of that block to advocate for themselves or around that. And then if council wishes to move forward, the city attorney can prepare language to amend the current ordinance to include this new street as a designated RPOP street. And if that took effect, Bruce's team, I believe, can begin making the signage changes and ordinance enforcements necessary within 30 days.
Okay.
That's really it.
That's your that's your presentation?
Well, the presentation previously was really the public presentation. We teed it up for that.
Okay. With that, it is 7:48 and I am going to open up the public hearing, starting with the public comment. And just like our last public comment for call to council, Kyle is going to take hand raisers and people phoning in, and please leave your comments to 3 minutes, and please only give a comment on this agenda item for this specific public hearing. All right, with that, Kyle, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. I saw Sherry Wells raised her hand and then there she is. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
That's going to be echoing down the decades in our history books. I was delighted to have someone come to my door with that petition. Her husband was laughing with me when I was talking about how delighted I was and that I wasn't the person to have to do it. So we have continuously active, involved people on West Troy. This is something that I would like to consider a no-brainer. When you live on West Troy, as I have for 32 years, for the last 11 or 12 years, we've had to, before Rosie's moved down to the corner. We would have at about 2 o'clock in the morning, the noise that Mr. Frazier was talking about, people yelling and slamming car doors and turning on radios, and it would last 10 or 15 minutes. We'd roll over and go back to sleep. Didn't bother calling the police, you know, but this has been just a constant thing. I read something saying random acts of kindness, pick up litter. All I have to do is walk out my front door. I can get to pick up litter, cans that these macho guys like to crush so I can't get my dime for picking them up. We have people urinating on our front lawns. We have people driving up with their loud radios when they drive up, when they leave, yelling because alcohol does affect hearing. Studies have shown that. And if you walk a block in our shoes on most evenings, you'll hear and see and feel what we've put up with. I'm delighted that West Saratoga has succeeded in getting something more livable for them, at least as far as that goes, and would be very, very pleased if we can follow suit with that for our street. It would be absolutely wonderful. And one more comment. For the last 16 months, I've been able to sleep very well every night. Yay, COVID.
Thank you, Sherry.
Great. Next, Mayor, we have Bernie Frazier.
Welcome back, Bernie.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to say thanks again, and I wanted to give kudos to Bruce for all his work with the parking. I think he's doing a great job. I know when we did the petition, I think it took us like 6 months to get that through, and this I think's gone through like in a month. So that's a great relief for residents, as you just heard. I know on West Saratoga, it's been a godsend, you know, just having the ability to find a parking spot. But the one question I did have with the residential parking program, I'm not sure, but I believe like when I go in and register in that, I believe they check to see if you paid your taxes and water bills and stuff before they give you the permit. And I'm not sure if that's the policy. I know for people who might have difficulties with that, it might be an undue burden. I don't know if that policy is throughout the whole city, even outside of residential parking. So if someone doesn't pay their water bill outside of the residential parking zone, are those residents told they are not allowed to use the public streets? I guess what the point I'm getting to is, you know, it doesn't seem very equitable to residents who are in these zones not to have the ability to park on the street if they haven't paid a tax, if that seems to be the policy. And that might be dictating why you need the machines to check to see if they have the thing, as opposed to just putting a very simple sticker like you do at any club or any place you go to. They have a simple sticker on the window. You can see it very visibly. And it's quick and easy go, quicker than typing in anything on a computer. So I'm not sure if that's the policy, but maybe that's something that the council could look at if people in these zones are being targeted for non-payment in that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernie.
Next, Mayor, we have Michael.
Hi there.
Hi, Michael.
Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
I'm on West Troy as well, down the street from Sherry Wells. And yeah, we do need something like Saratoga. Right now we have permit parking, and it's a 2-hour parking situation. Republic Parking, I mean, rarely does their job, I'm sorry to say. We have people who are parking on our block with their permit and heading to work, but they don't live on the block. And we've reported that a number of times with the person's address. So we need something that's going to give us more hope when we come home, because again, many of the people on the block do not have driveways. And it's right down the street from the dot. I mean, right there. People need to park. We need to make revenue for the dot. And think of it that way, making revenue for the dot. And I just hope it goes through, and that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
And Mayor, we do have our one call, and I think it's also Sherry, different Sherry.
Hello, Sherry? Hello?
We have another hand raiser. Jennifer, go ahead.
Hi, Jennifer.
Sorry, new to this. Thank you very much. I'm the one that actually started the petition, and with the help of Sherry and some of my other neighbors. Basically, I'm in the parking business downtown Detroit. We're residents. It's different when it's a business community. This is a residential street, and it's almost being treated as if it's benefiting the businesses more than it is the residents. So if there is a fair or a festival going on, chances are, even if we do want to have people come over and go to those festivals, we don't have parking on the street ourselves. There is a problem with renters on the street where once they move out, there's no tracking of that information. So if they work in the area, they're still parking on the street and going to work, but they're not residents. And basically, it's a major inconvenience, but the very number one thing, when my 80-year-old parents come to visit, I don't want them to be woken up, startled in the middle of the night with a drunken woo or a loud fight or the car door slamming or the horns going off. And so that's why I started the petition. That's it.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And Mayor, I believe that is everyone.
Okay, thanks everyone for giving your feedback on this street, and thanks Jennifer for being the grassroots organizer for your street, getting petitions. All right, so next, that was the period of public comment. I'm now going to open it up to questions for council, to city staff. Are there any questions from council at this time?
No questions, Mayor. To me, this is pretty straightforward. So.
All right, well then we need to move on to stage 4, which is motion and debate. Bring it home, council. Bring it home, council.
I move that we approve the West Troy Street residential permit-only parking zone and approve ordinance number 1259 for West Troy between Allen Street and Farmdale Street as submitted by the city manager's office.
Support.
Moved by Mikulski, supported by Polika. Are there any comments at this time before roll call here?
Through the chair, I'll just jump in for a quick second. I have had residential only permits. I live on Vester Street, where we've had that for a couple of years. It does alleviate a lot of the concerns that that West Troy residents have expressed tonight. But I do want to set some expectations a bit that it's not a silver bullet. You may have neighbors who make noise when they come home. You may have guests of neighbors who still make noise. You may have people who park another block over or something. It's not a silver bullet that makes all of these things go away, but it does ease these concerns considerably. I'm grateful that we have it on Vester Street. So I'm happy to approve it tonight for West Troy.
Thank you, Kat. I just had one question, I guess, for follow-up for staff to chat with council about later, is the when people move and the tracking of permits. I think that would be something for me to understand a little bit more, and if that really is an impactful problem, the residents have identified it as something that needs to be looked at. So if we can dive into that a little bit more, that would be helpful.
We can.
All right, Marnie, our Madam Clerk, please, our vote call, please.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May,
Yes.
and Mayor Piana.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Next, we are moving on to the second public hearing is the consideration of the text amendments to section 24-165, medical marijuana facility, provisioning center, marijuana retailer and safety compliance facility in chapter 7, business regulation and licenses, article 20. Again, the 4-step process of a public hearing is staff presentation is number 1. Number 2, I open up the public hearing with public comment. Next, we move on to council questions, and then 4 is motion and debate by council. With that, I am handing this over to our city manager and our planning manager, Justin Lyons.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I actually allowed Justin Lyons to have a moment to get promoted. Justin is a staff liaison to the Planning Commission and will speak on the process and the application before you, or proposal before you tonight. Justin, are you on yet?
Thanks, Joe. Just about to share my screen, if that's all right. All right, that should work now. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Justin Lyons, Planning Manager for the city. Happy to bring forth a few items related to text amendments. As noted in the packet, generally this public hearing and request includes amendments to the zoning ordinance, essentially one-line amendment to the zoning ordinance related to the number of marijuana retailer permits in the city. And then secondarily, there is some amendments proposed for the regulatory ordinance, which has to do more with the licensing process. And there I'll include some, or I'll go over a few of those other updates in this presentation. But thanks for your time this evening. So I will give staff gave a presentation in March on the current status of marijuana business and permits within the city. So I'll go over some of those quick highlights, not the entire report that I gave before, and then also just talk more about what's before council tonight. So most recently, City Council now has received 2 different marijuana reports, one in January of 2020, where the initial report basically provided details on marijuana retailer applications and what had been going on with the provisioning centers at the time. That report came out around the time that the city was accepting marijuana retailers during that application period. So that was based on the state legislation that came out of the ballot initiative that was passed by Michigan voters, including Ferndale. In April of 2020, council did approve 3 marijuana retailer applications that were reviewed according to criteria in the regulatory ordinance. And then council also amended the ordinance to permit an increase of the medical marijuana provisioning centers from 3 to 5 at that time. Fast forwarding to 2021, City Council did grant some extensions for 2 of the existing medical marijuana provisioning centers. The city also received its first marijuana safety compliance facility permit application on Wolcott. And actually, the 2 provisioning centers that granted extensions did meet their deadlines and did get their temporary certificates of occupancy. So they are both in close to opening, is my understanding. And then most recently, after staff gave a report on the state of marijuana in the city in March of 21, staff brought forth these amendments that were being considered by City Council tonight at a public hearing by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission, as noted in the packet, did not make a recommendation regarding the increase. That is similar to a previous decision by the Planning Commission from a year or so ago, where they did feel that it was City Council's purview to select a number of permits for these types of uses rather than the planning commissions. So I won't dwell on this slide too much, but essentially earlier in March, as I mentioned, there was a report that staff gave that showed that there were no compliancy or enforcement issues happening related to parking, safety, security, code enforcement at any of the existing marijuana facilities. The city did also receive some revenue from, or excuse me, not revenue, but dollars from the state treasury for the marijuana retailer operations that are open in the city. As you can see, this is just a snapshot of each of the different types of permitted marijuana facilities throughout the city that are that have different permits. The key column, I guess, to pay attention to that is related to tonight's agenda item is there are 3 existing marijuana retailer operations, Live, Gage, and Green Buddha. And so the proposal would increase, at least as recommended, the marijuana retailer permits from 3 to 6. This is just a quick update from other communities. This was presented previously, but it gives you sort of a snapshot of the other types of uses that other cities are and communities are considering, and then where they're at with the number of permits, at least at this point in time. So tonight, as I mentioned, these zoning ordinance and regulatory ordinance amendments have to do with increasing the marijuana retailer permits from 3 to 6. So that is, sometimes called the adult use or recreational, retail facilities. Our ordinance calls them marijuana retailer permits. And then the regulatory ordinance did update the potential, or considers updating the ordinance title from to just be more current. The current title of the ordinance, as the mayor read, doesn't actually include or it includes grow operations, which really the city doesn't allow that use. So it seemed pertinent to take that out just because staff gets a lot of questions about that from people looking at ordinances. We did propose an update to the definition of grower because there is a difference between growers as, these, I think a lot of people think of these gigantic grow warehouse operations in other communities, and the Michigan Medical Act does allow for people to be qualified caregivers and have growing in their homes as long as there is a home occupation there. We also included an update regarding the time period for applications and how that would be reviewed. The current draft ordinance does include 2 60-day periods for review. That was kind of a starting point, so I will let council consider that further if that should be lessened from there. We also did update some text related to signs based on some of the recent case law to be more consistent with that type of ordinance and other sign ordinances. So basically from a high level, the next steps for council, if they were to approve the ordinance amendments today, this is sort of a next step timeline based on the 60-day review periods and acceptance periods. In the draft proposal, as I said, that could obviously change depending on council's preference for timelines, but wanted to just put this here in case there are questions on that time frame. So as with all public hearings, staff did publish the public hearing notice in local newspaper in advance, did also give a heads up to folks that have been interested in marijuana in the city in the past, including current businesses. So a lot of folks did participate in the public hearing at the Planning Commission as well. So I feel like we've had a decent amount of feedback, and I'm sure we'll hear more this evening. So staff's here for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Justin, for that presentation. Before I open the public hearing, I just wanted to let everybody know that I had individual conversations prior to the council meeting with council about the 120-day sort of application and approval period. And there is support for reducing that down to 60. So just wanted to let everybody know who is chiming in with public comment that that is a direction I think council is very favorable of doing tonight, but that will be coming up with motion and debate. So moving on, I am now going to open up the public hearing at 8:10, and now Kyle will again take. I'm sorry, my light is flickering in my room here, and it's distracting me. Kyle will take folks' comments via phone and Zoom, and please leave your comments to 3 minutes. So Kyle, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. And if you would like to speak, please raise your hand and leave it raised. And if you're looking for the hand, here we go. Lance, go ahead.
Hi, Lance. Are you there?
Let's try that again.
Hi, Lance.
Thank you. So, good evening, Council. I'm Lance Bulbury. I'm a partner at the Dykema Gossett Law Firm, where I chair the cannabis practice, and we represent the applicant at 642 East 9 Mile. I just wanted to mention, with respect to the time frame, that we're very glad that Council recognizes the importance of concluding your selections in time for applicants to be state licensed by the end of the state fiscal year on September 30th, because that's the cutoff date where the state determines which municipalities get money and how much money that is. And we do recognize that it should be a much quicker process this time around. You've already developed applications, and certainly all of us in the industry know what to look for, and we've been following the city proceedings with interest. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Lance.
Thank you. Anyone else? Doug, go ahead.
Hi, Doug. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Good evening. My name is Doug Maines. I'm a partner with the Honigman Law Firm, currently in Lansing. Here representing Live Cannabis, one of the 3 existing licensees for both medical and adult use marijuana retail. Just wanted to start by saying that as the overarching comment, Live does not oppose the expansion of the number of facilities. They actually welcome the competition, but their concern is more along the lines of fundamental fairness, and then most importantly, ensuring that there's no negative consequences to the community. So in the past, Ferndale has done what I believe is one of the better jobs of municipalities in the state in terms of taking a very kind of deliberate, methodical approach to how it addressed the number of marijuana facilities within the community. It's done extensive study and analysis before expanding the number and type of licenses within the jurisdiction. So the 3 existing retail facilities in the city that are fully operational have spent months undergoing reporting requirements, inspection requirements. And through that process, they were able to not only prove that they can operate within the bounds of not only state law, but also the local ordinance, but also to show that they were able to operate without causing any sort of negative impacts on the surrounding areas and neighborhoods where those stores are operating. So as you heard Mr. Lyons testify earlier, 2 of the 5 current medical licensees are not yet open and operational. So what we'd ask council to consider is the possibility of, again, taking that measured and disciplined approach and kind of tabling this expansion of the number of facilities right now until the city can adequately see if it can handle 2 additional facilities. So we don't know, the city doesn't know what the impact of those 5 facilities fully operational is going to be on the community, if there are going to be issues with traffic congestion, as we've heard a lot about parking concerns here from the community tonight, if there are going to be noise issues or odor issues, anything like that. Obviously, the 3 operators that are fully functioning and have been for a while now, they've shown that they can operate within the confines of the law and without causing any sort of negative impacts to the community. So what we'd ask at this point is for council to kind of again use the study period to see what happens when it expands the number of operational facilities from 3 to 5, to make sure that's not going to cause any sort of nuisance or safety concerns or code enforcement concerns. And then to look at that point, once it adequately determines if the 5 operational facilities are going to have a negative impact, then to be able to make a wise, deliberate choice in terms of whether the 5 is sufficient within the city to operate without any sort of issues. So again, we just respectfully request that the council continue to use the foresight that it's used in the past in terms of making very educated and deliberate decisions for the number of marijuana facilities within the jurisdiction. And again, we just request that the planning department take this opportunity to study the impact of what 2 additional facilities would look like within the city and what sort of impacts that would have before council decides to increase the number of facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
And our call-in resident is with us. If you'd like to speak, go ahead.
Hello, caller. You're on the air.
I guess not.
Okay.
Our last call. There are no other hands, Mayor.
Okay. Seeing no other hands and no other folks in queue for public comment, I am going to close the public hearing at 8:17 and move on to questions from City Council and opening up the floor to council members. Seeing no questions from council, we need to move into stage 4, which is motion and debate. To proceed.
All right, I'll bite. I'm navigating between different windows here. Move to approve the text amendments to section 24-165 medical marijuana facility provisioning center, marijuana retailer and safety compliance facility, and chapter 7 business regulation and licenses, article 20 as submitted by planning manager.
Did you want to do the amendment to the 60 days?
I will incorporate that in my motion. Give me just a second so I can get the right language. So in section 7-4126, I would propose that the 2 references to 60 days instead read 30 days.
Support.
Moved by James, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May, and now we move into conversation and discussion and comments.
Through the chair. So now I have a question about the motion that was made. This motion would support the addition of 3 retail licenses.
Correct.
Okay.
And the change from 120 days down to 60.
I have no issue with the reduction from 60 or 120 days to 60 days. My concern is that we already have a precedent that we've established more than 6 years ago, and we started with 3 licenses and then progressed to 5 licenses. And that was back when it was the limited medical licenses where a facility could only have 5 caregivers, and each caregiver had, or maybe it was 3 caregivers, and each caregiver had 5 individuals that they could support. We set that process of going from 3 to 5, and then the same thing happened with the last time when we went from 3 provision licenses to 5 provision licenses. So I really feel strongly that rather than change what we've already established, we've established a precedent of going from 3 to 5, that I would support going to 5 retail licenses, but not 6. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilman. Other comments? All right, I will make my comment. I appreciate everybody, the businesses who are seeking to establish themselves in Ferndale or expand their presence in Ferndale. Ferndale has really tried through our council and staff to create a fair and equitable process for all of the applicants, and making sure that we are doing our due diligence. And over the time since medical marijuana became legal, and I was on council at that time, the tolerance has always been sort of 5, but that was under medical marijuana. And now the business model is shifting to retail. What we're hearing from the industry is, but medical marijuana is still needed because it is a different, I'm going to not use the best words here from the industry, but a different caliber of product with higher potency that still is different from retail. So both are still needed, but the direction of the industry is retail. And I am of the opinion that if we don't allow retail to go up to a higher amount based off of medical marijuana licenses that we've done, then we would be restricting anybody who had one or wanted to move into retail in Ferndale. With that, I'm also going to reiterate what I've said over the 9-10 year period, is that it is not a city's job to determine supply and demand of a marijuana that makes a retail business successful. That is the industry, and that is capitalism, and that is what we have relied on here. So I just wanted to say, council has received letters from businesses who would like us to expand, and letters from businesses who don't want us to expand. It feels sometimes like a no win-win situation about the opposing forces of the marijuana industry. But I'm tonight, wanted to highlight the early adopters who entered into the risky business of starting their first business under the medical marijuana and now retail, and everybody trying to make their business successful and get their foothold and start a business and expand. So with that, I'm supportive of 6 tonight, and see where this goes. I know that the pattern of safety issues with the police department and existing business hasn't materialized, as that was a concern for council over the years. And I think all the businesses that currently have licenses, retail licenses, have been exemplary. And if there are issues, they work directly with the city and our police department. So those are my comments. fair, equitable, good process to make sure that all applicants are heard and reviewed. Seeing no more comments from council, I'm going to move on and ask our Madam Clerk to do vote call.
Councilmember Polika,
No, with explanation.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May,
Yes.
and Councilmember Mikulski,
Yes.
and Mayor Piana.
Yes. And Councilman?
Yes, I just quickly reiterate the only reason that I voted no tonight. I fully support the additional retail licenses. I fully support this moving forward, except for the fact of the number. I feel that we have set a precedent, and I didn't want to change that precedent. And that is the only reason why I did not vote for this tonight. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your explanation. All right, folks, that is it for our two public hearings this evening, and we are moving on to the lengthy consent agenda items. Sit back, go get a drink, go to the bathroom, because I have almost the entire alphabet here to read, and council will decide what their pleasure is with the consent agenda. So let's get started. 8A, approval of the regular meeting minutes of May 24, 2021. 8B, approval of resolution honoring Juneteenth, a commitment to liberty and equality, and recognizing June 19, 2021 as Juneteenth National Freedom Day. 8C, approval of the resolution to display the rainbow flag at Heroes Garden from June 14th through June 30th, 2021. 8D, approval to adopt a resolution to recommend qualified licensees for Ferndale Social District. 8E, approval of the resolution for the city's request for reimbursement from Oakland County under the West Nile Virus Program, and that the city clerk be authorized to sign. 8F, consideration of a text amendment to the development agreement with Versa Wanda LLC. 8G, consideration of interlocal agreement between the city of Ferndale and the Ferndale Downtown Development Authority to authorize public art installations at the DOT. 8H, approval to purchase 2 Shakespeare light poles from Madison Electric in the amount of $5,690 with the expense charged through General Fund, Department of Public Works, Repair and Maintenance, with the account number listed 101-441-775. 8I, approval of the attached changes to collective bargaining agreement between the City of Ferndale and DPW supervisors, AFSCME 1917 for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024. 8J, approval to renew the annual contract with Resource X for priority-based budgeting tools, website, and support, the amount of $15,000. 8K, approval to purchase and install 12 mobile data computers and 8 Havis docking stations from Dell, EMC, and Canfield Equipment for $33,656.40 to be paid from account 101-301-977. 8L, approval to purchase 4 replacement AEDs for Ferndale PD and City Hall at the price of $1,636.30, each for a total cost of $6,885.09, with download, adapter, and extended warranty to be charged to 101-336-761-000. 8M, approval to purchase 2 2021 Ford Police utility vehicles from Jorgensen Ford with accessories to be purchased installed by Canfield Equipment Service and Magic Graphics for $1,694.44 to be financed over 4 years with a Comerica bank account number 101-301-977.5 with installments to begin in fiscal year 2022. 8N, approval of a contract with Bridge Innovations as a communications provider for the police department's landline telephones and the holding cells that allow inmates to make prepaid collect and debit card calls at no cost to the city. 8O, approval to issue a purchase order to Dorn Bros for street sign material in the amount of $25,000 with the expense to be split between Major Streets Traffic Services, Signs Repair and Maintenance account number 202-475-775, and Local Streets Traffic Services Signs Repair and Maintenance account number 203-475-775. 8P, approval of the review, verification, and preparation of construction documents, 2,900 and CAD drawings for 800 for the installation of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing for gear extractor and PPE dryer at Fire Station number 1 from Bigiglia Associates for $3,700 with the expense charge to general fund, fire department, capital outlay 101-336-977. 8Q, approval of the summer 2021 assessments to the tax roll. 8R, approval of resolutions appointing interim public works director Daniel Antostic as streets administrator. 8S, approval of the bills and payrolls as submitted by the city manager's office and subject to review by the council finance committee. I'm hot from all of that. What's council's interests?
I missed it. Could you read it again?
Sorry,
moved.
Agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved by James, and did I hear supported by Polika?
Moved by Mikulski, supported by James.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for correcting me. All right, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May?
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana?
Yes. All right, folks, we're moving on to the regular agenda, and it's 9A, a resolution to temporarily allow electronic participation by staff presenters and the public at public meetings of City Council and its boards and commissions.
Mayor, I could go ahead and introduce this.
Go ahead.
As you may know, and as I cited in the call to action, the Open Meetings Act rules, the emergency rules that were adopted by the state and amended several times throughout the pandemic, will expire beginning July 1. And what that means for any public body subject to the Open Meetings Act is that you'll have to reconvene in person. So City Council as a body will have to reconvene in July in person. Now, I did anticipate that there could be an interest in extending virtual participation for the public and staff and presenters as well. And so I asked Dan Christ, the city attorney, to prepare a temporary amendment to council's rules of procedures that contemplates extending the ability for virtual participation for staff, for presenters, and members of the public through December 31st, through the end of the calendar year. And that is what council is considering tonight. It will require a resolution from council that is attached in the memo. And the city attorney, before we move on to questions, did I miss anything, or would you like to add anything to that?
Through the chair, no, the city manager's correctly identified that come July 1st, council is required to have traditional public meetings at its city council chambers. The one slight distinction was council had passed a local emergency which allowed for it to conduct its electronic meetings for the last 2 months. And so it was under that local emergency declaration that council was allowing its public meetings to take place through a electronic format.
I would also add one more comment to myself, is that pending on council's ruling tonight, we are going to prepare some guidance for boards and commissions. We are aware that a lot of our boards and commissions who meet less frequently do have a lot of questions about how members of the public can participate. But I do want to clarify that board and commissions are subject to the Open Meetings Act. So board members will have to resume meetings in person as well.
That's correct.
If I may, through the chair. So I guess I have a little bit of a scenario. If a council member or a board member is maybe out of town for other reasons, but is able to handle their council duties, would they still be permitted to do it via Zoom, or are we expected to not be present for the meeting?
Through the chair, Councilwoman, the reported cases require council members, members of the public body to participate in person. There is an attorney general opinion that talks about a scenario which might allow for a call-in, but the published appellate decisions would require the council members to appear in person.
In regards to the call-in, that is...
Well, I think through the chair, I can provide additional guidance to council on that. I would say that that absent board member or commissioner may be able to participate remotely, but would not be would be able to listen, but would not be able to participate as a member of the public body. Certainly they could call in and listen, but I would like to provide council specific direction on that nuanced question, Councilwoman, and I can provide that to council by its next meeting.
Thank you. I guess I have more of a comment, like not a question, but wait a minute, I thought of the one. Is there pros and cons of going to this model, Joe, that you can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely, Mayor. The pros we've listed is really ostensibly it's a more inclusive way to conduct a public meeting. You're providing a greater opportunity for engagement to more people, and that's the nature of what we're supposed to be doing. The con side, it does limit the broadcast. So what the public could see, and we've done 2 what we call hybrid meetings to test the model. And what it does require, based on the technology today, we're limited in 1 camera view of the rear camera. So the Zoom audience will see just the view of the council chambers and council from the back camera. That camera is plugged into our local broadcasting encoders, which broadcast the council meetings out to public access channels. And then that is then mirrored to YouTube and other social media. But ostensibly, the equipment that we have as it is today is limiting in that. It also requires the assistant city manager to continue to act in the role of a moderator and not as an assistant city manager during the meeting. Kyle will continue to be air traffic control, managing in-person and virtual participation. So the role of a moderator will be here to stay as long as we do that, and that just makes sense. So it's really just production quality and production ability. That's where the constraint is. I have asked our technology, our help desk services provider, to explore a solution with our municipal government cable contractors to see what investments could be made, if necessary, to make the hybrid broadcast a bit more versatile and user-friendly, so we can actually get close-ups of people and have graphics, which is what we can do today in a normal traditional environment. But we can't do that in a hybrid setting at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, see no other questions from council. We need to have a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve the resolution to temporarily allow electronic participation by staff, presenters, and the public at public meetings of City Council and its boards and commissions.
Support.
Moved by Mikulski and supported by James. I had one comment, is that I wanted to let people know that I am getting comments from residents about how they like being able to participate and call in or join via Zoom. And I recommend our residents contact your state rep and senator, because it's state law that needs to change in order to allow public comment to continue. I've already had a couple conversations with our senator, but I encourage you raise your voices with these folks, because they're the ones who have to negotiate with the legislature up there. So I'm not confident anything will happen by the end of the year, but the more people who submit an email or call them to let them know where you stand is helpful.
Through the chair.
Sure.
So I'd like to make some comments. At the last council meeting, we had a citizen who vocally expressed their feelings about raising the pride flags within the city, and is personally about the LGBT community. And I have no issues with someone who has different views and opinions about what they believe, but this person was afforded the anonymity of speaking to the public under the disguise of a Zoom meeting. The person presented themselves as Micah, but we didn't get their last name. We assumed he was a resident, but we have no confirmation that he was. And there's no way to validate his identity. And we don't know if other people over the past year who have spoken were in fact the people who they claim to be. When someone comes to council chambers, we speak to council and to the public. We're able to confirm their identity. The change we made to shift to digital meetings was solely for the health and welfare of council staff and the general public. We're now at a different stage of this pandemic, and the state is starting to lift a lot of these restrictions. I have always felt that if the issue is important enough, people will find a way to come to council, maybe email council, maybe come to council, but somewhere communicate their issue to the city, and that person can be identified. If we continue these meetings outside of the state restrictions, my concern again is with precedent. You know, when you set a precedent, it's very hard to go back. In 6 months, when this is completed, people are going to say, well, you've done it for the last 6 months. Why can't you just keep going forward with it? My concern is it just makes it easier for people to do a lot what the same thing that they do with social media. You get on, you make, you know, comments, you get lost in the system, and you're not able to be productive. I don't think that allowing these Zoom meetings will be productive for the city, for council, for staff going forward. And so I will be voting no tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
If I may, through the chair.
Councilman Polika.
If I may, through the chair. I can understand Councilman Polika's views, but I do know and also understand that with this pandemic, people have very different levels of comfortability. And in order to allow for those individuals that maybe are not quite comfortable with that after everything we've gone through regarding this pandemic, who still want to attend these meetings, who still want to be involved, I think that we as a council should allow them to do so. I also think that we should make it clear that this is only to a certain period of time so that people can become adjusted and acclimated to the new normal. So because of that and because of my views and understanding Councilman Polika's views as well, I'm going to vote in support of this.
Through the chair, I would like to chime in on a couple of benefits that I see from expanding public access through virtual means. One, I do want to acknowledge that we have sort of dropped the norm of people stating their full name and address during their comments. To a certain degree, that's on us. That was the norm when we were in council chambers. We should have encouraged and allowed for that. But other than stating a person's name and address, you know, we don't truly verify someone's identity when they attend a meeting. But I am sensitive and understand the concern that anonymity on the internet can lead to all kinds of shenanigans. But I think the benefits of remote participation, from what I've observed, have outweighed those concerns. People with disabilities, including social anxiety, parents or caregivers who don't have backup, you know, and are homebound for some reason, oppressed people who don't feel terribly comfortable in government environments have the ability to participate. in a public meeting through this means. And there's also, I feel like, a small but important segment of the population who really gets overlooked in the COVID reopening plans. And that's immunocompromised people for whom either vaccinations aren't medically advisable, or for whom vaccinations aren't terribly effective. They're left in a really difficult position as we reopen and resume normalcy, where they really can't, they don't have the option of getting the full benefit of vaccination and making that decision. And I don't want them to be shut out of participation in public meetings. I get that the legislature really needs to address this issue in the long term, and I echo the mayor's sentiments at the beginning that we need to be encouraging people to reach out and to ease and allow for the ability for remote participation moving forward.
Councilwoman Mikulski?
I'll chime in just very briefly. Personally, I love this. I hate being in person. I hate Zoom as well. But man, have we seen an amazing amount of public participation. We've heard from people that were driving home from work. We've heard from people who are homebound. And we've heard from people who are caregivers, who have little kids that they have to drag around. And it's not my job to figure out what the degrees of importance are for these people to get into council chambers, but it is my job to hear from them. And I feel like so many people are nervous to come to a podium. They're nervous to state their name and their address and be put on blast if they say something that somebody doesn't like. People are nervous about even sending an email because of the traceability. And this affords a certain opportunity that could be taken advantage of, and it could be horrible, and we've seen that once before. But it affords such an opportunity for so many other people to actually participate in their local government and to be heard and to feel like they've been heard, because they're able to do it from the comfort of their home. They're able to do it on their own time and their own way. And I absolutely love it. I'll be happy not to see myself on a Zoom screen or to sit in front of a camera. But again, I'm very pleased that we're moving forward, hopefully, with this tonight.
Thanks, everybody on council. I just really want to say thank you for your thoughtful, really comments and deep appreciation of public participation, no matter where you stand on the issue. And I will take ownership of the concern that Councilman Polika talked about of asking people to state their full name. That's on me as the meeting chair. And Dan, if you could advise me after this meeting on how best to improve that for the continuation if this passes tonight, so that I may rectify any of those gaps that were identified. All right, we have a motion on the floor, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks-May?
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
Councilmember Polika?
No.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. And the debate you heard tonight, I can guarantee will be a debate in our legislature. And it's a healthy one to have. All right, folks, we're moving on to our final regular agenda item 9B, approval of the 2021 Ferndale Dream Cruise sponsorship agreement between the City of Ferndale and GTB, which is the agent for the Ford Motor Company. This is the return of this item. We've already discussed this at the last council meeting and asked for some sponsorship language clarity, and I will turn that over to Michael Larry, who will give an update on this item.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to let you know that I did take the agreement back to Ford, and they did make a revision to it and added paragraph 10, which is known as unforeseen events. such as a pandemic possibility. With this, that means that motor company a refund of that sponsorship if there was a decision made by council to rescind the event, as well as if the state had done the same thing. However, to avoid any negative, as much of any negative financial impact to the city regarding the event, the bulk of those costs that would be affected by that $50,000 sponsorship fee is primarily a cost that takes place after August 1st. So as I looked at 2019, since we didn't do the event last year, almost 90% of the funds that were spent invoices did not get processed until after August 1st. And of those would be primarily rental equipment, entertainment. Therefore, we would have the time to cancel those contracts prior to that so that we would not be impacted by those costs. The only thing that we would be impacted by if this happened would be any advertising that we would be spending. Because obviously when you have an event, you have to pre-advertise to get people aware of what you're doing. And of that, that would be less than $10,000.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
This was an administrative change to make council feel better, and I think it has been appropriately addressed. We'll need a motion to move forward. And also just a reminder, Councilman Polika is refrained from taking any action on this item because he is a employee for the Ford Motor Company.
Thank you, Mayor.
So my other council members, it's up to you to make some motions.
Mayor, I move to approve the 2021 Ferndale Dream Cruise sponsorship agreement between the City of Ferndale and GTB, Agent of Ford Motor Company, and approve the Director of Special Events to sign the agreement as submitted by the Director of Special Events.
Support. Moved by James, supported by Mikulski. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana?
Yes. That concludes our regular agenda item, and we're moving on to call to council tonight. And starting with our city manager, we'll be working with our directors to give us an update.
Thank you, Mayor. It has been 3 weeks and we have slipped into the summer season. So we do have extensive updates from staff. Leading off tonight is our Director of Communications, Kara Sokol.
Good evening, Council. I wanted to give a quick update about the city's return to a print newsletter. To remind the community, there was a Cobalt community survey done about 1.5 years ago, and randomly selected residents were asked to take a survey about all things city services. And we heard in large number from our residents in our community that people missed the print newsletter and wanted to see a return. So thanks to support by council, we have been able to make that happen. And the first edition is on its way shortly. Residents should be receiving it before the end of June. And this will be the summer edition covering July, August, September, and then residents will receive it quarterly from now on. So then the fall edition will arrive sometime in late September, and so on and so forth. This is a great opportunity to kind of take it back to our roots a little bit, get a lot of basic information that people are asking about in these times of the year, information about how to engage with staff and council, projects that we're seeking community engagement on, and so on. Great for residents who aren't on social media or don't spend a lot of time on digital resources. So check for that in your mailboxes. It should be arriving within the next 2.5 weeks. And I hope I'm not stepping on our DDA director's toes, but we have an update about the DIA Inside Out art installation. It was approved a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, I think, by City Council, and the Ferndale Arts and Cultural Commission has been hard at work with the DIA and the DDA trying to get all of the pieces finalized and ready to install. There's been a bit of a delay on the DIA's end because of the cost of materials for installation, but we heard today that the project is good to go. Installation will be happening sometime next week between Monday and Wednesday. And the DDA will be putting out a web page and tons of information probably in the next couple of days. So people should kind of keep their eyes open for that and keep their eyes open for the art that should be popping up throughout the downtown district. And that is all I have tonight.
Thank you, Kara. I would also add she is the liaison of our Arts Commission, which is why she shared that update as well.
Thank you for reminding me. Yep.
The city clerk will be next, Marty McGrath.
Thank you. I just wanted to promote a recently added feature to our meetings page. We have a subscribe feature now for meeting notifications when packets and agendas are published. So folks can just go to ferndalemi.gov/council meetings to sign up for email updates on various upcoming meetings. You just enter your email address and select which meetings you want to receive notice for. Since this feature is tied to our Granicus agenda management system, notice is sent at the same time that the packet is published. So folks who are interested in getting the drop on the announcement can have a link sent directly to their email address. And also in elections, I wanted to note that the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission is currently holding up a series of public hearings over the next few weeks for interested residents to provide input on their priorities for redistricting. There is one tomorrow in Detroit at 5 p.m. at the Village Dome Fellowship Chapel on West Outer Drive. But folks can sign up through michigan.gov/MICRC, and they can sign up to either attend in person or remotely. So those opportunities are few and far between for folks to get their interest out for what matters to them in redistricting after the census. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marnie. I would also credit Marnie and her team for giving us a staff training on local election process. We've had a lot of turnover throughout the city since the last election, so it was a very informative training conducted by an expert master clerk. So quick applause and shout out to Marnie for achieving her master clerk accreditation. That's an achievement to be acknowledged and celebrated.
Congratulations, Marnie. It's a big deal.
Is a big deal. Our Jordan Forty, our Director of Community and Economic Development, is our next updater.
Thank you, Joe, Mayor, Council, members of the public. Great to be here tonight. Just a couple quick updates, a little bit of a teaser. The Master Land Use Plan Steering Committee will be presenting a recommendation at City Council next meeting on the 28th of June. And we have a project page live for that effort right now. So if you go to ferndalemi.gov, click the current projects button, the big green button on the home page, and you'll see there's a master land use plan page for this. So you can, as we go forward in that process, if a contract is approved and we bring on a consulting firm to do that work, you'll see things populate in there. Opportunities to engage, work product to review, and so on. The only other thing is just a quick shout out that the CED department was awarded recently by the Community and Economic Development Associates of Michigan and the Michigan Economic Development Corp. Sorry for the long names there. But those two organizations picked Ferndale as one of 10 communities across the state to receive a fellow. So starting in October 2021, we'll be getting a full-time position that's only costing us $6,000 spread over 2 years, which again, thank you, Mayor and Council, for approving that in this most recent budget. But this full-time employee will be focused on specific goals tied to our redevelopment ready community certification including the Affordable Housing Community Land Trust, a priority that was identified by City Council, civic and business promotion, continuing the work under the Open in Ferndale banner that we started in the COVID pandemic, and then streamlining and increasing communication on CED processes as part of our certification, stripping away all the jargon, making it easy to access our processes and the different resources that we have directly, but also that we get through partners like Oakland County. So we're really excited about that work, and you'll see more of that in the coming months. We're working with HR to post that job, so Ferndalians would be welcome to apply for it. And so that'll be coming in the coming months, but we were just excited to make that announcement. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is an update from our Finance Director, Cheryl Stubblefield. Cheryl Johnson.
That's okay. I've made that same mistake. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a couple of quick updates. Right now we are working on the tax bills, and we are still unable to figure out a really great way to get the tax bills and the coupons out together. So they will be coming under 2 separate mailings. If you do not have a mortgage and your tax payment is not escrowed, you have the opportunity to make 8 monthly payments for your property taxes. So keep an eye out for those coupons when they come. Those should be hitting the mail by July 1. And you have until the end of July to pay them. If you do not use the coupons, if you do use the coupons, it's 8 monthly payments, and you have until the end of February. The other thing that I wanted to note is the office is now open from 8 to 5:30, Monday through Thursday. So my staff is available to assist anyone back at our regular hours. I don't think we've had these regular hours since March 16th of 2020. So come on back in, see us. Again, it's Monday through Thursday. We are still closed on Fridays, but there are some staff every other Friday. That's all I have in finance right now.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I'd also add, I'm not sure if we added at the previous meeting, but we have since then selected Michelle Masty as our next finance manager. So Michelle started a few weeks ago.
Yes, I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. I think several people have met her already. I know several staff have. She just hit the ground running, and she's doing a good job.
Agreed. Next is Chief Emmy with an update from the police department.
Oh, happy birthday, Chief Emmy. Sorry.
There we go.
Hello. Are we there? Can you hear me now? Excellent. So thank you, Joe and Mayor and Council. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I want to thank everybody for the birthday wishes. I much appreciated. When we finish up here, I'm going to have some sweets. For Council, I have a staffing update. We are now up to 42 officers, which is a huge feat, finally reaching full staff. We will have, hopefully August or September, all 42 will be trained, fully trained, and on their own, counting as staff. So that's a huge accomplishment. Big shout out to the HR department and my internal staff for all the work they've done to get us to this point. Beyond that, I want to congratulate my staff for some great police work in the recent week. Last Monday on the 7th, they apprehended a bank robber after he passed a note robbing the Comerica Bank. They searched the area and found him hiding in a local park, and that person has been charged with bank robbery. So great police work, great teamwork by our officers. Just this morning, a combination of our detective bureau, our midnight shift, and our day shift apprehended a person who had broken into the Puff Factory at 800 West 9 Mile Road. A wonderful spot-on eyewitness made the difference. They saw him jump into a car on a local side street, gave out a vehicle description that even included the license plate number. And that led to our officers finding the suspect He then exited the vehicle, and after a foot pursuit and a canine track, located that person and took him into custody this morning. He is wanted in connection with some other local break-ins and has a history of burglary. And the vehicle that he was driving was also stolen. So just a couple examples of some great police work, and really proud of our team. Thank you.
Well done, Chief, and happy birthday. You could have called in a favor and missed it and got those sweets earlier. I didn't know.
No, I didn't want to miss this for the world.
The next update is from our interim DPW director, Dan Antosik.
Good evening tonight, Mayor and Council. So we'll give some brief updates on all of the construction projects that we have going on in the city. So right now, our water main project is moving on as scheduled. We've completed all of our work on Bermuda and Horton. That section of road is scheduled to be paved in the coming weeks. Right now, we're over on Martin Road, starting our water main projects over there, and that's going quite well. Our local paving program for 2021 is moving as scheduled. We're through our first grouping of streets, just have to tie up a few punch list items and some restoration work, and we're getting started on that second grouping of streets this week. Additionally, our lead service line replacement program is getting off to a really good start. We're at the approximate 140 service lines replaced marked, with an additional 45 copper services that have been identified. Both of our contractors that we now have in town have been doing quality work, and we're very happy with the progress and the production that they're making. Good feedback that we've been hearing from the residents, and we'll be taking that feedback and tweaking our program as we move forward in this first year. Additionally, we have received delivery since last council meeting of a new dump truck and some new lawnmowers, so thank you very much for approval of that. Our crew members are very happy with the new equipment that we received. I had the opportunity to test out one of our newer mowers last week, and cuts very well, moves quite quickly to help us keep production up, and has a great all-around suspension for a smoother ride for our crew members. So other than that, everything's moving along as it should, and we're looking forward to maintaining that. So if you are looking for schedule updates, please visit www.ferndalepaving.com to see those schedule updates. And do keep in mind that we have weather that does affect our normal scheduled plans for the week, and we are doing our best to keep those updated in real time as possible. So thank you very much, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Dan. Next, we have Emmanuel Johnson with an update from Parks and Recreation. Excellent event.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We just wanted to thank everyone for coming out to our Gravity event that we hosted this past Saturday. It was our first major event, I don't want to say post-pandemic, but it was the first one that we felt somewhat normal with. We had a turnout of, we believe, over 1,000 people, and we had excellent partners for this event. We want to thank Reveal Productions, Modern Skate, Oakland County Parks and Recreation for all of their contributions in making the event successful. We really think it can turn into something special as it continues to grow in years to come. Other than that, we just want to let everybody know that we're gearing up to start our summer camp program beginning this Monday. This Monday spots only have one spot left. So, but there are spots available for other weeks. So if you're interested in more information about the summer camp program, you can visit our registration website, and it should have all the info you need. Otherwise, you can email me at ejohnson@ferndalemI.gov.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Good to hear news of summer camps. It's something about that. Next, we have an update from Chief Robinson from the Fire Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and community that's attending with us tonight. So I just want to do a reminder, we do have our burn permits live online, and it is very easy to do. I did mine as the test case, as I am a resident of Ferndale, and it is so much more convenient and easy for residents. So just a reminder, if you want to have campfires in your backyard, use your fire pits, you have to get an annual burn permit. So if you have one of the old ones that said one time, those are sunset. Those are not good anymore. You do have to get the annual permit. This allows us to ensure safety, do the inspections, but you apply for your permit, you do your payment, and schedule your inspection all online, so you don't have to run up to the fire department or do all those things. So it's much more convenient. So I know there's questions about the old ones and when the language got changed to one time, but they are annual and those are sunset, so those are not valid any longer. The other thing is we have been working really hard with some technology updates on the fire department, which is very exciting. And one of them is we have these transponders that have been put into our frontline fire engines, our ambulance, our platform. And what it does is when we activate our emergency lights, it'll send out a signal. So if you're running the Waze app and some in-vehicle navigation, it will alert you that emergency vehicles are coming or that they're ahead on a scene. So it increases our safety on the roadway, and it also increases driver safety because it gives them that notification. There are additional navigation platforms that will are probably be coming online connecting to this technology, but it's a great thing for our community and for us. And the last thing is staffing. We do still have vacancies right now, and I will be hoping to open up the application process this summer. So you'll see us out trying to do some recruiting, really trying to connect, but anybody in the community that has family members or is interested, have any questions, please feel free to contact the fire department, stop into our stations, ask questions, but we will be opening up application process to hopefully get fully staffed as PD is, because that would be great for our community and our fire department to get all our vacancies filled. I think that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Chief. And I will represent the HR Director, Dan Jacy, and just echo that with, if you are interested in a career or a job with the city, please go to ferndalemi.gov/jobs to learn about all of the opportunities. Republic Parking is also posting opportunities as well there for several jobs. So please do reach out to us. A couple updates from the city manager's office, and we are done, Mayor. I want to announce, happy to announce that Wayne State University reached out to me and asked if we would be a host city as part of the Mandela Washington Fellowship, which is a program sponsored by the U.S. State Department. And what that does is provides local virtual this year in-service training opportunities for professionals in public administration from various countries in Africa. We haven't been given the names of our students and or professionals who will be working with us, but we are identifying 3 service programs that they will be able to participate during the month of July and virtually. And I'll be having more updates about that information with the communications department, but really appreciative of our partnership with Wayne State University. My alums are always happy to work with them. As I said earlier, we will be issuing guidance to boards and commissions in partnership with the City Clerk's Office about expectations management for public meetings in July after tonight's decision. Cheryl stole my thunder on City Hall, but City Hall did restore normal operating hours on Monday from 8 to 5:30 Monday through Thursday. And we have also since updated guidance on mask and vaccination policies within City Hall and public facilities per the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. So if you're a member of the public who has been vaccinated, you are permitted to enter City Hall without a mask at this time per the state's guidance. And with that, Mayor, that concludes staff announcements.
Thank you for all the great updates. Now we're moving on to call to council. And I will start with Mayor Pro Tem Links May tonight.
All right. So I just want to, our Special Events Director, Michael Larry, did speak on the event this weekend, Juneteenth. I just wanted to also touch on that that it will be an event to celebrate the emancipation of slaves, and also that there will be an opportunity to hear storytelling. We will have local artists We will have a family, it will be a family-friendly event where we'll have a children's coloring station. There will be food trucks, and we will have the high schoolers who will be reciting poetry. I'm trying to think of everything here. There will be the Motown Dream Dancers there, as well as just really a time to celebrate. And I just really wanted to point out that this is just one of the many efforts that the city has committed to being more inclusive. We have our anti-racism declaration. We register the Pan-African flag for the month of Black History Month, and now this. So I do hope to see more initiatives to include even more populations in our events in the future. But please come out to the Ferndale Courtyard Library, 222 East 9 Mile, this Saturday, 1 to 5, and enjoy this first of hopefully many events, annual events. So please come out and enjoy. I hope to see you there. And happy birthday, almost did it, Chief Emmy.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilwoman Mikulski.
I have a real weird one tonight. So tonight, it is World Blood Donor Day. And I wanted to take a moment to remind people that this is something that you can do that can make a huge impact in general. So safe blood and blood products and their transfusion are a critical aspect of public health. 97% of the population by the time they're 75 will have received a transfusion. Less than 38% of the population is eligible to give blood, and only 5% of the population donates. There's a huge shortage in the industry, hospital systems, medical systems in general, due to primarily deferred care during the pandemic and people not going in and donating regularly. It's not something that places can stockpile. So if you can, if you're willing to, set yourself a reminder, maybe on a quarterly basis, go in, donate. You could save somebody's life. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman James.
No announcements, but I did have a quick follow-up on our earlier discussion about resuming in-person meetings in July. For people who are able to attend in council chambers, I do encourage it. It's an opportunity for us to see one another face to face in a way that we have not had the opportunity to do so in a very long time. It also provides an opportunity, you know, to interact a bit before or after if there's time, you know, or pass contact information back and forth to follow up later. Again, if you're able to, I do encourage popping in from time to time. It's a good way for us to get to know one another differently than through the screen.
Thank you. And I heard from Councilman Polika, he doesn't have any comments tonight. So thank you, Greg, for letting me know. And then finally, I had one announcement, and it's mostly amplification of a Oakland County announcement. But there is this third round of the Oakland County Neighborhood and Housing Rent, Mortgage, and Utility Relief Program. So funds are now available again to help people with rent payments or mortgage payments. And there is a website where you can go, and it's oakgov.com/RMU to get the online application and all of the requirements in order to apply. But if you have the inability to pay rent or mortgage due to temporary job loss, reduced work hours, or other income hardships that have been caused by COVID, I know some of our Ferndale residents have taken advantage of this program, and encourage folks to share it wide and far, because some people are still being impacted by the pandemic. the economic impacts of the pandemic. So that's all I have, folks, tonight. Happy birthday, Chief Emmy, and well done, Parks and Rec Department, for the Gravity event. It was fabulous. It was just felt great to be back out, and I really appreciated the large presence of our police and fire there. I know our residents appreciated it as well.
Sorry, Mayor, before you leave, did you want to talk about the 8 Mile meeting?
Oh, thank you. This Thursday is the 5th community meeting for the 8 Mile Woodward Improvement Project, starting at 6 p.m. You can go on the city's website and get the Zoom link. And I just wanted to say thank you to Councilwoman Polika, Councilwoman Mikulski, as well as our volunteers, Commissioner Charlie Cavell, who handed out flyers. And grassroots organizing has been part of making sure people know what's going on at this bridge with the project, as well as the ongoing updates. And this project is going to be talking about the art and unveiling the art concept that has the potential to go there. So we're nearing the end of this project of all the design and capital improvements, and hopefully we'll see those get implemented by the end of the summer, early fall. So with that, everybody, it's 9:21. Go back to your families. Thank you for participating tonight and making sure that we have a strong local government. I appreciate all of you. Have a good night.
A good night.
Good night, everyone.